All right, so the Insta360 1R Aerial Edition is honestly the weirdest thing I think I've ever tested. Like, it's just weird. How's it going, guys? My name is Andrew Murphy from Down Under in Gold Coast, Australia. So Josh from Drone DJ was kind enough to send over the Insta360 1R Aerial Edition for me to basically test out on the Mavic 2 Pro. And I was excited to try it out because it just like offers something different from any other accessory, I guess, that you can get for a drone. I'm wearing the wrong glasses. That's why I can't really see. Now, if you aren't aware of it, it's basically a cage that fits onto the Mavic 2 Pro or even the Mavic Pro, which then houses the Insta360 1R 360 cameras in a way that basically completely erases the drone altogether. And this allows us to get aerial 360 videos from your drone, basically for a fraction of the cost of any other method. But unfortunately, with the Mavic 2 Pro, it has some downsides, which I will touch on later. But first up, the 1R Aerial Edition comes with a split lens 360 mod, a core module, battery base, vertical battery base, drone mount, a lens cap, 2 lens guards, and also a mounting bracket as well. So the cool thing is that you don't actually need to own an Insta360 1R to get this because it comes with everything you need. So now my first impressions of this thing, honestly, I was actually really excited to test it out because it's just so new and so weird, but actually getting this set up was a little bit confusing. So you first have to make sure that you have a full battery in your drone, because once you actually put this on the Mavic 2 Pro anyway, you can't take out the battery because this actual mount goes over where the battery goes. Then you can mount the cage onto the drone. Then you can actually start to slot in all the batteries and cameras and the brain of the operations as well as like the actual connectors that join everything together. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the bottom lens actually sits lower than the actual legs on the drone itself. So if you are gonna land on something, just be careful it's not on like concrete, because with the little vibration stuff, it will land on the actual lens itself, which is not good. It does comes with these lens protectors, and you can obviously fly it with these on, but sometimes you do get the edge of them in the stitch. So I'd recommend taking these off and not flying with these on. But to basically get around this, you can just hand launch it, which is super easy. Like, you just hold it, press the launch, and then just let it fly off. And then hand catch it as well, which is again easy. You just kind of like hold down, put your hand under the drone, and then when it goes to landing, your hand, just catch it and just keep holding down, wait for it to actually turn off, and then you're good to go. So now once I actually got the drone in the air, immediately I could hear the difference in the prop noise, obviously because you have more weight on the drone. So it's gonna require more power to actually like lift it up in the air. And also just the handling of the drone wasn't as smooth. And the really disappointing thing about this whole accessory, only on the actual like Mavic 2 Pro and Mavic 2 Zoom, I believe, is that the whole module sits over the GPS module, so you can't use GPS when you're actually using this accessory, which is kind of pointless. And honestly, the reason why I won't really be using this that much. And because you don't have access to GPS, it means you lose your return to home, and also kind of like how it stabilizes itself in the air. So if you are a beginner pilot, then do not buy this accessory, because you'll end up binning your drone and crashing it, and it's not gonna be my fault. And even like someone for me who's been flying drones for ages, and I fly FPV drones, which are 100% manual, even I was nervous flying my drone with this on without having GPS, because you just don't know exactly what it's gonna do. Now, the cool thing about this mod is that it obviously records in 360, it records everything. So you don't need to worry about like which direction you're facing or where the camera's facing, because afterwards you can just reframe and do whatever you want. And it also does a really good job of actually like erasing the drone from the shot and just having this magical flying 360 camera. But to get the footage looking somewhat decent, you do have to enable aerial addition under stitching calibration in the Insta360 app. And this also somehow changes the stabilization method to use horizon leveling as well, because if you don't actually check this on, then this is what the footage looks like. And when I first jumped on the computer to actually like review the footage, this is what I got. And I was so close to just throwing this in the bin, because I was like, this is absolutely trash. It's not smooth at all. But then afterwards I realized that you just have to press this button, and then it's actually pretty smooth. Now, for an accessory like this, it's really hard to kind of like critique anything really, because there's nothing else like this on the market. So like, the flaws that it has, it's not like, oh, just get this one because this one's way better than this. This is really the only thing that's out there. So you can't really like critique it. Like if you want this, this is the only thing you can buy. Now the stitch line when flying close to objects is very, very noticeable simply because just the space between the cameras is so big. So if you are going to fly this, then fly away, like a fair distance away from objects to get the best results, and also try to keep your flying smooth as well so that stitch line isn't like moving all over the place. Now overall, I really like that Insta360 has tried something different because it shows that they're like willing to innovate and try something new. And even though it doesn't give the best results, like I'm not that impressed by it, it's shown everyone like what can actually be possible with these 360 drone attachments and whatnot. And with a whole bunch of improvements and stuff, and like in the next few years when more of this stuff comes out, I'm excited to see kind of like where this goes. But in its current form, especially on the Mavic 2 series, I'd say give it a miss, because honestly without GPS, like it's the most nervous I've ever been flying any single drone. Anyway guys, if you did enjoy this video, then consider liking and subscribing. And if you want to find out more about the Insta360 One R Aerial Edition, I'll leave some links down below. But otherwise, stay creative and just be you. Have fun.